Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about how there is no such thing as a random bug. Okay, so I'm having one of those days. I nearly didn't get the video done because I'm having one of those days where it just seems like lots of things stop working at once. I got like bad karma or something. I don't know what it is. Right? I've got two clients called up, says that some of their users who are using the app are having issues. I mean, it's just a small percentage, and it could be the app or it could be their server. And then I've also got one of my own apps which is having a high rate of failure, or it's more than usual, more than I'm comfortable with, so I have to go in there and look at that. And searching for bugs and having bugs in your code is something that I think all developers deal with. I mean, I've been a developer now for nearly 20 years, and it's just a fact of life. These kind of things, they happen. You could try to anticipate everything going forward, but you're always going to have certain things, and you're always going to have some of your apps crash, on certain devices and things like that. And it's just a fact of life. Now, if when I was working in investment banks, working on websites, I used to love to just log everything, right? And I had a colleague who he was really good at this. Everything was logged, when people logged in, when people logged out, when people clicked on this, all this kind of stuff. And it was really great. It was, people would call with customer support calls, and you didn't have to ask, what browser are you on, or, or like really junior developers always say, send me your username and password, which is always really bad, right? So he would always know exactly what they were doing, the kind of errors they had, where the error occurred, the time of day, what browser they were using, all that kind of stuff. He saw it as his mission to know more about the error than the person calling up does. And I've always really believed in that. And for a website, it's kind of easy because you can log errors, and I always believe that try to log everything you can, because disk space is cheap, but like a lack of knowledge can be really expensive. I mean, you could spend hours and days and all this kind of stuff, and meetings upon meetings trying to track down an error and get into the politics of it, and then somebody comes up with a theory that everybody goes with for a while and nobody ever tests, right? And nobody really knows what's going on, and we just have theories. Right. And now I happen to believe that there's no such thing as a random bug, right? You see, most bugs when they come to us, they seem random. They seem like, or for the most part, somebody will come to you and say, like I've got one now where what they're saying is it's not working for some people, right? And my questions are, who is it not working for? What types of phone are they on? Is there something specific about this group of people and all that? And they say, well, it's just not working for some, right? And it's because we don't have analytics in place for this application. And it's really hard, right? One of the things about mobile apps is that because it's distributed, you've got people all over the world. And if something crashes on one phone somewhere in Tibet or whatever, I don't know, and you might not even know that it's crashed, or if it does, if they email you, say, hey, I was using it, doesn't work. Most of the time, users will email you and say, I tried the app, it's not working, right? And you have to say, was there an error? Was it, what did it say? I mean, what do you mean it's not working? Can you elaborate? And it's really hard to get that kind of information out of people. It's like you have to practically interrogate them, on what date, what were you doing before the crash, all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard. And this is one of the reasons why analytics is so important. And like I said, I don't think there's ever such thing as a random bug. And junior developers and inexperienced developers like to leave it at that, or they'll go with a theory of, oh, that's because of the browser he's using, or that's because, oh, it obviously doesn't work on that kind of phone, and all that kind of stuff. But there's some things that are going to appear random, but you just have to dig down and find the cause of events to find out what they are. And sometimes you don't have access to that. So like if my Android phone, I mean the operating system, all of a sudden it just starts crashing for some reason, I could try to find out what causes that crashing, but I might not be able to come to that causality because I don't know the underlying code and all this kind of stuff. But usually within an app or with your own code you can, and sometimes it can actually be kind of fun. And I know that sounds weird, where you go into something like I've actually been in investment banks where I've gone down, they send me to to some PC in the corner that's been, you know, set up. I don't know if you guys have ever worked in a place where they have like a PC where they have some software running on it, but it can never stop running, and like a post-it note on it saying "Do not switch off," and nobody wants to touch it because it's been running since like 1978 or whatever, right? And you go in there and they say it stopped running, we don't know what to do, and then you just sit there and you just looking at it. You're looking at the registry and config and event viewer and all that kind of stuff, and just try to drill down. But if you don't have any data, if you don't have any analytics, then you don't know anything. They can't just call you up and say, it's not working, what do we do? And this is, you know, it's the same as when clients call you up and say, I have this idea, how much will it cost, right? You can't tell, unless you have some information, unless you have some analytics, unless you have some data, you don't know anything. You just know that it crashes a lot or people are complaining. And if you don't have analytics or crash analytics, so the great thing about Firebase is that you have that, then you don't know anything. And like I said, EarSpy crashes a few times a day. It's got thousands of daily users, and it's one of those things where, you know, it's something I'm willing to live with. The crashes seem to be completely random. They don't seem to be, yeah, they seem random, but I mean they're spaced out in the code, and sometimes the crash can happen from something that's not even your app. Maybe they closed it at the wrong time, or something else interfered with it, or you got memory issues or anything like that. So anyway, bugs are a part of life, and it's part of my life today. So anyway, really quick and short, kind of all over the place. I mean, you know, log everything. Analytics are hugely important, and you know, because you're distributed, your apps are all over the place. Having a central source of that analytic data is really, really important. And I wish I had that on some of these bugs I'm fixing today. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.